Okay, today I want to talk to you about the process for making a new interface connection. Anytime you're going to connect a new system to your RIS or PACS, you need to start by discussing the interface specifications. Now, most knowledgeable people have an interface specifications document. It lists what data goes in each of the fields and what data type the fields are coded for. You can put their interface spec document and your own spec document side by side and compare the configurations to find fields that don't match up. It's much easier to figure this out on paper before you actually build the interfaces. Here is an example of an orders interface spec document between Epic Radiant and Nuance PowerScribe 360. You can see it's going to be for a order interface. Let's say ORM order interface. Down here, we'll see the message mapping rules. So R means it's always going to be sent. This is for the sending system. RE means it may be sent. NS, never sent. Here you see the receiving system optional values. R is required, RE optional, NS is ignore. So basically in both of these you can say that R is always or required, RE is optional, and NS is not going to be done. Let me scroll down. So I had to scan this in, so it's kind of hard to see the words in the header. I hope you can see them. So hopefully you can see that this includes both the Radiant and the PowerScribe 360 length and the values. So in the first row you can see that MSH1 here is going to be the field separator. It's going to be data type ST, it's going to have a length of 1, it's required in Radiant, and in PS360 it has a length of 1, it's required, and this is what the value is going to be. The message header is going to be pretty standard, so the fields are going to be pretty much agreed on all the way through, and you have the standard encoding characters, ST, the ones we're all used to seeing. If we go down to PID 10, we can see an example of where they don't necessarily agree, but both systems know what they're supposed to do with PID 10. PID 10 is the very controversial race field. So that's a data type we haven't talked about. The length will be 250 characters, but it's optional here. Radiant might send it, but PS360 you see is NS, which means ignore it. We don't want it. So we know that the sending system might send race in PID 10, and we know that that field is just going to be ignored. It's not going to be mapped to anything inside the application of PS360. If we go further down to PID 19, we can see an example of where the interface engine has a task. And here the interface engine is called IB. It stands for Interface Broker. So here we see in PID 19, it's a social security number, it's ST, it's coded for a length of 16. They might send it. PS360 is expecting 16 characters in that field. They're going to ignore it. But here we see that if Radiant sends if available, IB to strip Social Security if sent. What that means is if Radiant sends the Social Security number, the interface engine is going to strip it out before it ever gets to PowerScribe 360. So that's an example of where an interface broker might have a task as it sits between two systems. So that's an interface spec document. But what if you're working with a small location that doesn't have an interface spec document? Imagine you're a PACS admin. One day a local doctor's office calls up and they want to send orders directly to your PACS system from their EMR. You say, great, send me your interface spec document. And they say, huh? What's that? Obviously they don't have any idea what you just asked them. But there's a way you can still make this work. It's a process called reverse engineering. To do reverse engineering, you would ask the doctor's office to send you one of their order messages from their log file. So they send you the log file, and the message looks like this. So now you have a message. Once you have a good and valid message, you can start to figure out what their specs are. So one way you could do that would be to copy this and paste it into your parsing tool. So now you have their order message paste it into your parsing tool, and it will tell you all the values. You can go in the message header and you can see, okay, the field separator is coded for ST, and that's what they have. Their encoding characters are ST, and those are the encoding characters they're using. Their sending application is actually coded IS, not something we've talked about. But you can go through each one of these and start to put that into an Excel sheet or directly into an interface spec document you would create side by side, your system, their system, and you can see what all of their codings are in each of their fields and what their data types. If you don't have a parsing tool, you can still do it. It's just harder. You have to take the message and you have to put it right into an Excel sheet. And so here I've taken that message and I've put every field with the value and the data type. It takes a little longer, rather do it with a parsing tool. So in class we're going to reverse engineer a couple messages. I'm just going to give you the message and then you're going to have the Excel sheet. It'll be blank here. You'll write in what the value is and you'll take your best guess at the data type, and we'll see how good you are at taking a message apart completely down to the nitty-gritty of the fields, and if you can get the values and the data types. See you then.